Hey y'all, it's your lead sister here, and I just want to tell you about Anchor. I recently joined Anchor from a different host because this one was free. There were creation tools that allowed me to record and edit right in my phone or to my computer, and they also distribute the podcast everywhere you can listen. Spotify, Apple, you name it, it's there. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, if you're thinking about making a podcast, y'all, download the free Anchor app, check it out, or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Sisters podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Jeter, and today we continue the Women Warriors Living Legacy 2021 series in honor of Women's History Month. Today I sit down with Amelia Cunningham, an Air Force veteran from the Korean War era. Amelia is such a joy. She not only served her country and did a fabulous job at her task at hand, but she's gone on to continue to serve this great nation by becoming a teacher. And I just really love all of her high energy. She's 95 and just so full of memories and wisdom. And it really is one of those conversations that just by listening to it will better yourself. And I really hope that today you just enjoy the chat and enjoy this journey through our history and knowing that women have been doing some incredible things throughout all of the military service. And Korean War veterans, especially females, are really hard to find. It is so much easier, actually, for me to seek out and interview a World War II veteran at this point than it is the Korean War. And I find that very particular, but here's one of the reasons why. One of the main reasons is that the count of how many women who served in the Korean War was much less than that of World War II. And it's just interesting. So anyway, as we continue to invest in our veterans, we need to reflect and remember the legacy in which we served. And so today, Amelia Cunningham is going to do a fabulous job of sharing her story and imparting a little bit of history with you. Welcome. I'm Carrie Jeter, and this is the Freedom Sisters Podcast, a show where my sisters in service talk about her life journey, from hardships to victories and everything in between. We are the leading media company to amplify women veterans. Today, we are hearing from Amelia Cunningham from Chicago, who served in the military during the Korean War. Hello, Miss Amelia. How are you today?
I am fantastic.
That is awesome. It's so good to hear. Thank you so much, first and foremost, for your service to this country and your time with me today for this special Women Warrior Living Legacy podcast episode. So let's get started by having you share some information about yourself to begin.
Okay, now you gotta talk louder and slower because I'm a little hard to hear. I didn't quite get your question.
Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, my name is Amelia Cunningham. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, basically. And I joined the Air Force in 1954. And I was in for 3 years. And I joined when I was in high school. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I would see advertisements on the bus, and in those days we had streetcars, about the military. So I thought, that looks interesting. Maybe I'll do that. I'll try that. And my mother said, well, why don't you go to junior college and then join the military? So I followed my mother's advice and I attended junior college for 2 years, and then I joined the Air Force. Joining the Air Force was the best thing I ever did in life. It allowed me, number one, to get away from home, although my home environment was very, very good. But you know how your parents always tell you what to do. So that gave me an opportunity to get away from home. It gave me an opportunity to get off of the west side of Chicago because I lived on the west side. I went to Lucy Flower High School, and then I went to Herzl Junior College, which was all on the west side of Chicago. And when I joined the military, I had my first airplane ride, and I went to San Antonio, Texas, to Lackland Air Force Base. And another thing about joining the military, I got to meet people from different ethnic groups and also from different parts of the United States. And my experience was at Lackland Air Force Base. That's where we had our basic training. And it was really wonderful. It was wonderful. When I left Lackland Air Force Base, then I was assigned to Scott Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois. And I was in what they call personnel training. That's what we did at Rantoul, personnel training. And from there, after the end of that training session, I was sent to Manhattan Beach Air Force Base in Brooklyn, New York. And that was just beautiful. My barracks, I could look out my window at the Atlantic Ocean. That's where our beach was. Our backyard was more or less like our beach. So that was basically it. I made a mistake in not staying 20 years because I did not have a mentor or coach. And nowadays, I try to coach people because parents don't understand that kids don't always know what they want to do. They haven't had the experience. They haven't had the exposure. Now, if someone had sat down with me or just kept telling me the advantages of remaining in the military, I would have stayed because I enjoyed my work. I was a morning report clerk. So I had opportunities to go to school at night because I had 2 years of college. I'm right there in Brooklyn. Would take me no time, but I never thought of that. And so I worked part-time in the PX cafeteria. And let's see. Also, I always wanted to be another Josephine Baker, the dancer. You know her?
I don't.
Well, she was a dancer from St. Louis who made big in Paris. I always wanted to be another Josephine Baker, but I couldn't sing. But while I was in the Air Force, I did dance when we had programs on base. But as I was saying, I really am sorry that I did not re-enlist. Now, someone told me that whenever I decided to come out of the Air Force, that I should make sure I go to school. So I think my mind was set on going to school and finishing college. But I didn't realize I could have re-enlisted and gone to school at night. And so that was a problem because I didn't have coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And something else I was going to, being in the military gives one a lot of advantages when you come out. So I did go to college on the GI Bill, and I worked part-time at Sears Roebuck and Company. So I'm trying to think what else. Being in the military, a lot of times, being a veteran, I meant to say, is you get advantages. Like nowadays at Lowe's and certain stores, being a veteran, you get a discount.
Uh-huh.
Well, I signed up for the Fulbright Hayes Fellowship, teaching fellowship. And I told my aunt, I said, I am going to get this fellowship. And she said, what makes you think you're going to get it? I said, because I am a veteran. And there are not going to be a lot of veteran early childhood teachers. And with all things being equal, the veterans were given a priority. So I did get it. I spent a year in England, and I think I got it. Number one, because I was a veteran. And while I was over there, I got to meet the Queen Mother. And that was really exciting. And she complimented me on my outfit. And I had bought the material in Lebanon. And one of my British children's parents made my outfit of a dress and a coat for me. And that was exciting. Then I signed up, which I would sign up for everything come along. I signed up for a National Defense Fellowship. Well, I'm a veteran, so I received that. And I went to Oakland University for 1 year and received my master's degree in elementary education. So that is it. And I love the Air Force. I'm just so sorry that I didn't remain. And another thing, they asked me to go to officers training school. Because I was young and dumb, I turned it down. Because I didn't want to be a dumb second lieutenant. Now, to show you how immature I was, it never occurred to me, Amelia, you don't have to be a dumb second lieutenant. You're going to be a smart second lieutenant. And then you'll become a first lieutenant. But we always made fun of those who were second lieutenants because they were usually college people who came into the military with no experience. And I didn't want to be one of those that the people kind of picked on. So that is why I didn't do that. And another very important thing that I try to tell people, another reason that I didn't do it because I did not know my Black history. Had I known my history, I would have known that was an opportunity as a military person in 1954 that I should not have turned down. I didn't even realize that the military had only been integrated about 4 or 5 years. And for me to become a Black female officer, that would have been a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I do know that I would have ended up one of those high-ranking female Black officers in the Air Force. So that is basically my story of being in the military. And I did not sign up for a reserve because, see, I was a primary teacher. And I know when you're in the reserve, you have to take off so often, and I did not want to have to take off from my classroom to serve my duty as a reserve person. So I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, that sounds really exciting. Can you tell me why the Air Force was the right branch for you?
Okay, I will. The Air Force. I always tell anybody who's going to the military, I say, go to the Air Force. We always sleep on clean sheets. And that is true about the Air Force. Okay, when I would walk down the street and see female veterans, I would stop and talk to them before I joined. And so the Army was 2 years, and the Navy, and my mother wanted me, one of my aunts wanted me to go to the Navy because her son had been in the Navy. But the Navy was 4 years. And I said, no, I can't go to the Navy because if I don't like it, 4 years is a long time. So I chose the Air Force because it was only 3 years. But I'm so glad that I chose the Air Force. I just really enjoyed everything about it. And as I said before, I'm very sorry that I didn't make it a career.
Yeah.
But I am thankful for the experience that I had. It was fantastic. Now, I didn't have any racial problems when I was in, because people always said, just hope you don't go to Biloxi, Mississippi. Well, see, I lived in Illinois. Then after Lackland, I went to Rantoul, Illinois, and then New York.
Right. So your time in service dates were 1954 to 1957?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And then what do you recall about your first days in service?
Well, I don't know. It was just riding the airplane, just getting there, and I didn't have any problems following directions or anything. And in the military, you have duties, and people would always tease me because we'd have to go sweep the street, the sidewalk sometimes, and do different duties, and they would always say, Cunningham, how you do all that? I would say, listen, this is better than being at home. Because, see, when I was at home, now I had a beautiful childhood, but I was not allowed to stay in the bed till 9 or 10 o'clock. I had to get up. I had to make my bed. I had duties. I had to sweep the sidewalk, sweep the gangway, clean around the garbage can in the alley. So being in the military was not difficult for me. I knew how to wash my clothes. There were girls who did not know how to iron. Now, I'm going to tell you the funny thing that happened is I had to learn how to curl my hair.
Why is
Now,
that?
that wasn't an experience with those electric curlers. And my roommate was from Georgia. She was Caucasian from Georgia. And when I would be in there trying to curl my hair, it was so funny. She would say, Cunningham, with a southern accent, Cunningham in here burning herself. And I would be, how you're trying to curl your hair, you don't know how to do it, you would burn yourself. So that was something that was exciting.
Yeah.
Me trying to learn how to curl my hair.
So was having curled updo or having curled hair, was that regulation?
Yeah, it was okay. My hair was kind of long, but see, you can roll your hair and it wasn't long. Now, I understand here lately, I read in the paper, they're going to start allowing the females to wear their hair long and wear it down. In our day, we didn't wear it down. But
Okay.
that was no problem because you just roll it up and it was okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you have mentioned a couple of times about if you would have stayed in and taken that commission as an officer, you would have probably been leading the way as a black female. And
Yes.
then was there segregation or was it combined training and combined unit assignments for you?
No, see, the segregated was over 4 years before I entered.
Okay.
So the military during my time was integrated. So we were all together, blacks and whites, Spanish, we were all together. We were all together.
And you didn't ever have any problems with that. Nobody ever made you
I,
feel less than.
I never had any problems. Now, I'm not saying that the military at that time didn't have it. I was just lucky that I did not have it.
Yeah.
And see, I was not stationed in the South. I wasn't in Mississippi or just Lackland Air Force Base basic training. Well, when you're in basic training, you're in basic training. You're not roaming around in segregated restaurants or what I don't ever remember going to a restaurant when I was in Lackland Air Force
Hmm.
Base, which is in San Antonio, Texas.
And
I don't remember going to any, off base. I can't remember that.
yeah.
And then when I came to Rantoul, that was in Illinois.
And there was up north in Chicago and Manhattan and Scott Air Force Base, there wasn't an issue with segregation in the north, right? It was already really combined, or was there segregation in the north?
Not in the military.
Okay. But
See,
in
I,
civil
I
on the
can't
civilian
remember
side?
what year and what president that was that ended the military segregation. So we didn't have segregation in the military. Now, and some people may have had bad experiences with other people,
Hmm.
but I never did.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. That's
I
awesome.
never did. I
I'm
really never did.
I'm so thankful for that. During your time at basic training, do you remember your instructors or your drill sergeants? What did you guys call them?
You know what? I can't even remember. It's been so long. I can't remember.
That's all right.
I can't remember. I really can't. If we barracks, maybe no, that wasn't. No, I don't. I can't remember what we called them.
Okay. Do you
But we
remember?
had drills, and we had to learn how to march. They put us in the gas. We had to go through a gas chamber type thing. I remember that, but I really don't remember.
Okay, that's all right. So, as far as the training, was there? I know I went to Army basic training, so I know that there's still some differences today between the two services. But do you remember the hardest part about basic training for you, or was it all pretty easy?
To me, it was pretty easy. As I said before, I wasn't accustomed to sleeping late and
Yeah.
not making up my bed every day. That was no problem for me. Now, some people may have had a problem with that. I can't remember. But for me, it was no problem.
Right. And if they did have a problem, they better get over it quick, right?
They better learn how to make that bed, shine your shoes, and keep their clothes neat and tidy.
That's right.
So,
So your first job assignment was back in your home state of Illinois. Do you want to talk about that? Excuse me. Do you want to talk about that assignment or do you want to talk about the New York assignment?
no, I didn't. My military, it wasn't, well, it was training. My assignment in Rantoul, Illinois. That's the name of the town, Rantoul. It was Scott Air Force Base in Rantoul, and that was where we went for training, personnel training. See, I was
Oh,
assigned to personnel,
I
and
gotcha.
so they taught. We had to learn. Well, I knew how to type already, but we had typing classes. and we learned how to fill out military forms and all of that.
By now, you know it's Women's History Month, and I just want to recommend another podcast for my listeners to go check out. Amanda Huffman's Women of the Military podcast is an incredible gem in the podcasting space. Week after week, she interviews women who serve to share their stories, to inspire future generations to answer the call to serve. What I love most about Amanda's podcast is that it's individual stories, but collectively we are mentoring the future generation of women who want to serve. So if you are in the military, wanting to serve in the military, or are on the other side of service, go check out the Women of the Military podcast today. Okay, I gotcha. So after you finished all of your training, basic at Lackland, and then your advanced training for your job set was at Scott Air Force Base, then you went to Manhattan Beach. Can you tell us about what you loved about that job assignment?
It was just considered the military. It was just like being in a regular office. I forget what my CEO was, the commander or whatever, but there were three of us in our little office. I was the morning report clerk for the support squadron. That was the trucks and things. But I processed the people in, take care of their records. But the morning report clerk was a very important job, and I had to make the report every day, how many people were on leave and how all present and accounted for and all that. That was my job. Now, there was one big mistake I made. Computers were just coming into existence in those days. You're talking about 1956, I guess. And I had an opportunity to do that, but when I went over there to investigate, computers were very large, very loud, and I said, no, 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 I don't want this. I'm going to stay in my morning report clerk in my little office and my typewriter.
What was your most memorable experience during your time in service?
I don't know. I guess I hate to say it. I worked in the PX, and I think that was one of my most exciting experiences because I got to talk to everybody in the evening. See, I started out making milkshakes and sandwiches, and I got to be cashier, and I enjoyed that the most because, see, my job was not stressful, and I'm in the orderly room with just three other people. So at the end of the day, I forget what time I got off from work. I had to be on duty at 8 o'clock. It's just like a regular office job. Mm-hmm. And one thing, whatever I did from 5 o'clock after I got off of duty, it was my business until I had to be on duty the next morning. Now, if I didn't have any other kind of duties, and I can't remember we had anything. I remember once we were in a parade. That was something big for me, marching in a parade down the avenue in New York. That was a big deal. And I also enjoyed dancing for the servicemen. We had a little team. There was a group of singers, and they were singing doo-wop, and I was a dancer. I enjoyed that. So, see, my military experience, and that's why I wear my cap nowadays, and people say, thank you for your service. And I always say, what are they thanking me for? I didn't do anything. I was just typing at a typewriter. But I went on the Chicago honor flight to D.C., that they take the veterans on.
Uh-huh.
And those veterans, a group of them taught me to never think that way. They said, you signed up, you did what you were told to do, you gave your service, you deserve the thank you. So nowadays, I've got a new attitude.
Yeah.
When people say, thank you for your service, I say, thank you for your gratitude. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. You had mentioned that you went to school on the GI Bill after
Yes.
service. So, did
Mhm.
you always consider yourself a veteran, even though you didn't feel like what you did was anything important, even though it definitely is important?
It is.
Yeah, you don't know where you're going to get assigned, so you could have gone anywhere. You just so happened the needs of the Air Force were in Manhattan Beach. But did you always see yourself as a veteran leaving service?
No, I didn't see myself as a veteran leaving service. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, I had an opportunity to be shipped to England. I never was overseas with the military, but I had an opportunity. See, the girls, we could sign up if the assignment came up. They didn't just automatically send us, at least in my personnel department or whatever, I was there. And I was up for promotion to airman first class. That's 3 stripes.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was, I was due for promotion, and then this overseas assignment came up. Well, I really didn't care to go to England at the time. I wanted to go to Germany. But I forget what you call him, my commander in our little thing, he told me to let the overseas assignment go and wait for my promotion because it would be coming up and I would definitely get that promotion. So therefore, I turned down that trip to England. And guess what? And I don't know how many, the assignment did, no, my promotion did come first before the assignment. So I missed out. I didn't want to go to England, but that base was closed and everyone went to where I wanted to go, Wiesbaden, Germany. So that I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you did your time and then you pursued your education. And, you've apologized a few times for not doing that 20-year career. But I
I am
feel like
sorry.
your impact has probably been pretty substantial as an educator. Do you want to talk a little bit about that experience and what you did after the Korean War was over and after your time in service was done?
Oh, yes. I made a difference. Now that I know, because see, I lived in the west side of Chicago, what they were calling, like the ghetto. Well, I went to school and I was working in early childhood in urban situation. I was working with all black children and I was a high school major because that's what I had made, the high school business major. That's what I had pursued in junior college. And then when I came back, I went to Chicago Teachers College under the GI Bill. And I didn't pass the high school test. So they needed teachers so badly, they put us high school majors in the elementary school. I was in a grade under kindergarten,
Okay.
and I didn't know a thing about what I was doing. So I went to school, and I took all the classes, and I became certified in early childhood education. And I taught first grade for, I think, 10 years. And when Head Start began, and they had, in our school, they had a child parent center. So I became the head teacher of the Child Parent Center, and I like being boss. So, and see another thing too, I have been so blessed that, and I'm not married, I've never been married, I'm not gay, but I had so many opportunities, and my uncle allowed me to have my first apartment in the attic of his building. So therefore, I had money that I could buy things for my classroom. You know, a lot of people can't afford to do that, but I could. So I made a difference. I enjoyed teaching, and I was on television with this overseas on a flight. One of my second grade students saw my picture, saw me on the news. He went on a computer and looked me up. That was such a thrill. And he said, Miss Cunningham, I saw you on television. So that was just beautiful. I asked him, was I a good teacher? And he said, yes, you were. So that's about it.
Yeah.
I was at this is something that's interesting. When I was at junior college, remember I said this is on the west side of Chicago, and I was majoring in learning how to operate business office. I was walking down the hall, and this Caucasian male instructor said to me, what are you majoring in? And I told him I was majoring in business office procedures. He said, you should be a teacher. I said, me? A teacher? He said, yes, you would make an excellent teacher. Think about it. And so I walked down the hall, and I went in the office, and I looked at the teacher sign-in sheets. And I said to myself, I wonder what it would feel like to come in and sign in as a teacher. Well, then I went to the Air Force after junior college. 6 years later, 6 years later, I walked into that very office and signed in as a teacher. And I was there at that school 43 years.
Oh, wow.
And you see, when I became head teacher of the preschool center was a part of the Herzl School. So it wasn't like you were at the same school, but rather than being in the first grade, I was in charge of the preschool. And we had our own little building, which was fantastic. And our school out of 22, I would say that it ranked number 2. We did a lot of things for those children, and I know, and people have told me, had I not been there, those children would not have been exposed to the fantastic things that they were. Because also, I attended all kinds of workshops and seminars, and I went to Europe on an early childhood study tour with Temple University. And I learned so much of how the Europeans and the different activities they did with their children. And I brought it back to the ghetto. And I can say, I made a difference.
That's beautiful.
Now, if I had gotten to be an officer in that Air Force, I'd have been making a difference there also. I just know that about myself.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just hearing your story, I think no matter where you were planted, you were definitely going to make a difference. That's for sure.
Yes, I agree with that. I wasn't the smartest person. I said I would like to write a book, A Dumb Teacher That Made a Difference, because academically, I want that, I'm outside the box. I'm not that smart. But I made a difference. I was an excellent teacher in that I loved my children. I taught them. I wasn't one of those who went to school and made a salary.
Yeah.
I really did make a difference. And I have pictures, and I look through them, and I have letters that the children have written me. I go through them. It makes me feel good reading them at 86
Yeah,
years
for
old.
sure. Did you ever make it to Germany?
I made it to Germany, but you see, okay, when I first started teaching, I went on a European study tour. A 30-day guided tour to Europe. Because when I was in high school, this doesn't deal with the military though. When I was in high school, I had a high school English teacher. I did not care that much for her. But she showed us pictures that she had been to Europe, and she showed us the Eiffel Tower. I don't know why, and we don't always know what makes us do things. I don't know why I was so impressed with the Eiffel Tower. And I went home and told my mother, I said, Mama, Mrs. Olson showed us pictures of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. I said, one day I'm going to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. And I have been to the Eiffel Tower 4 times, and two times, and I've been to Europe 4 times.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I did get to Germany, and, I went on that 30-day tour, and then I went on that early childhood study tour with Temple University. So I did get to Germany, and when I left the teacher exchange program, there were 2 other exchange teachers and myself, and I had a Volkswagen when I was over there, and we drove from England all the way around. And we went to the Berlin Wall. I've been to East Germany. I've been on the other side of the wall. They let us come over as, a tourist.
Wow.
So I did get to Europe, and then I could have applied for a job, but over teaching with the military, but I couldn't do it because I had been on something with the Board of Education. I had been on a sabbatical, and you have to go back and stay 2 years, so I could not accept that job with the military school system. And I think it was in Germany.
That sounds like you've had a really remarkable life of making a difference for those of us who came after you to serve. And you all really have paved a way to make it better each year. Each year, I think we continue to climb and rise a bit higher. And it's really
Yes.
because of the legacy that you women before us have established. So thank you for making a difference for women like me to serve and for impacting the future generations to make a difference there in Chicago and the nation, really. We live now in a day and age where travel and transplanting happens quite a bit. So I'm sure the children you've taught are making a difference because of you all across this nation. So thank you so much for everything that you did.
Okay, thank you.
What advice? I have a couple more questions for you. What advice would you give a young woman who wants to serve?
Well, I said before, I would always say, go to the Air Force. Join the Air Force. I'm a little prejudiced, a little biased of the Air Force, but it's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful experience. You see, when you meet different people from different backgrounds and from different states, see, not only people from the state you're from, like my roommate was from Georgia. Well, I'm sure that was an experience for her, having a roommate that was black and from Illinois. And we all got along beautifully together. We learned from each other. So it was really, I would tell them, it's an experience. And especially, and I tell the men the same thing, especially if you don't know what career path you want to go into, join the military. That will give you an opportunity to get away from home and get away from your parents, because see, once you leave home, you got to think on your own. Mama is not there to butt into your business and tell you everything to do. So it is a wonderful experience.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about that I have not covered in this interview today?
Not that I can remember.
Okay. Well,
But
Miss,
just for them to go and take advantage of traveling if you get an opportunity. Now, one of the people, a fellow that was my dancing partner with me when we were in New York, you know, how we have dances and everything you get. We always did the cha-cha. When he got out of the military, he went on the Peace Corps to Pakistan. Now, see, I'm sure that came because he was in the military. That might have inspired him to go to Pakistan. And so he went to Pakistan. He met someone, and this someone he met in Pakistan came to Chicago, and that person came to visit me. So all of that was from me meeting this other fellow while I was in the military.
mm-hmm.
So it's a wonderful experience. And my mother always taught me that even though you may not like the experience, but it's a learn. Learn what you can. You can learn from it.
That's
So
that's great advice.
I just enjoyed my military. Like I said, I didn't have any problems. I didn't have any problems with my officers. I think, now that you mention it, I think one time something happened. I was dating Italian airman from Italy that was on our base at Rantoul. And we were going to go to a concert, a theater, some kind of musical at the theater. Now, I was not scheduled for lunchroom duty on the day that we were supposed to go. And I kind of believed that day they came to get me and told me that, Amelia, you have lunchroom duty. And I said, no, I don't have a lunchroom duty. See, I wasn't on the listed on the assignment. And I kind of feel that one of the girls in my thing, who was from St. Louis, she was buddy-buddy with the lady, the officer in charge of us. I kind of think she told her that I was going to this theater with this foreign person. And I think she went and put my name on the duty roster, which meant I would not get off duty in time to go and get ready to keep the date. Now, that's the only thing that I can think of that might have been a little racist or something like that.
Right. Well, were you able to reschedule your date?
No, because see, he already had the tickets.
Okay.
He already had the tickets, so he went on. He knew that he knew I had gotten on duty. So when I got off duty, I went and got ready. He went on. And when I went to the theater, I just asked the man at the door, did someone leave a ticket for me? I think that's who I did. But he left the ticket at the ticket office or something. So it didn't come out because I went to the wrong person. I didn't even think to check more than one place.
Oh,
Boy,
okay.
he left my ticket. He said someone is coming. He left my ticket, but I didn't go to the right person. At least I think I didn't. maybe when they saw me, they just said they didn't have it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
it has been so nice just listening to your story, and thank you so much for sharing it. And yeah, that is all I have for you. And I just really want to tell you thank you again for your service, both in and out of the military, and paving the way, like I said, for us women to serve as well. You and our sisters who have paved the way really have made a difference for all of us in uniform. So thank you so much, Amelia.
You're welcome.
Okay. Y'all, wasn't Amelia just so much fun? I just love her energy. And yeah, it was just such an amazing conversation sitting down with her and navigating all of the technical challenges of a 95-year-old woman who doesn't own a computer, doesn't have a smartphone. And so to navigate that was a learning experience, but there is definitely so much value in honoring these stories, and there is a way to overcome technical challenges no matter who you are. And so, yeah, that was a really amazing opportunity to sit down with her. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, Korean War veterans who are women are so much harder to find. And the actual statistics of how many women served in the Korean War varies from depending on which site or which source I'm pulling my numbers from. I've seen as low as 40,000 Korean War veterans were women, and I've seen as high as 120,000 women were Korean War veterans. That is still a fraction. That's a third. The high number at 120 is still a third of what served in World War II, with 350,000 plus women serve in the armed forces during World War II. And that is just phenomenal. The whole country needed to come together. The Korean War wasn't as big of a conflict as World War II. However, women still answered the call to serve. So it has just been my great pleasure to bring you Amelia's story today. And until next week, keep sharing your stories. If you enjoyed this show, please be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Rate and review this podcast and share with your friends. Until next time, be seen, be heard, be known. Amplify Women Veterans.